I just want to touch on a little bit about what Simon Sinek says in his book, Start With Why. I think it's appropriate at this point because we're in Lesson 5 in the 16 Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, which is on initiative and leadership. Simon says, I couldn't wait to say that this morning, that there are leaders and then there are those that lead. You know, leaders hold a position of power or authority, while those who lead inspire others. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, while those who lead inspire others. This concept around leadership doesn't really relate to creating a successful brand. It relates to leading others. And then he talks about Orville and Wilbur Wright, the Wright brothers, and Martin Luther King and Apple, and how with the Wright brothers, who, flew the first airplane, other inventors during the time of the Wright brothers also had access to the same technology and even had more funding. But why didn't they succeed? And then when it comes to Martin Luther King, many have faced racial discrimination before. Then why is it that only Martin Luther King at the time took concrete steps on it? And then with respect to Apple, there are many technology companies who have access to the same talent, the same media, the same technologies, but none of them lead the innovation the way that Apple does. And then he also mentions others who led, like John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan. As he unfolds in his book on Start With Why, he uses an example of an American car manufacturer versus Japanese. In American car factories, workers on the assembly line, they apply the final fixes on doors using a rubber mallet, whereas in Japan, the doors are engineered to fit perfectly from the start. And if you think about it, that's also a metaphor for leadership. There are two types of leaders: those who decide to manipulate to get to the end result, and those who start with the end result in mind and then let everything else naturally fall into place. So here are a few more things he shares about that. Like, for example, there are two ways to attract more customers: inspiring the carrots or manipulating the sticks. That's what he talks about in his book. And he says that most of the sales tactics used by businesses today involve manipulation, pricing, promos, deals. They're the most commonly identified forms of sales manipulation. But regardless of the type of manipulation, Simon teaches that it's important to understand that there are short-term solutions like manipulation, which end up leading to a cycle of repeated manipulation. And he said that continuing too far down this path will impact long-term profitability. But then he shares another way through what he calls the golden circle. That's the core of Simon's Start With Why and his discovery and masterful explanation of what he calls the golden circle. And picture a big circle, and there's three parts in it. The center of it is why, the how is around the why, and the what is around the how. The why in the center, very few people or companies can clearly articulate why they do what they do. The why is not about how much profit you want to earn, he says. That's a result. The why is all about your purpose. Why does your company exist? Why do you exist if you're building a home business? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? I mean, what's your cause? What do you believe in? And why should anyone care? And again, this is why the Wright brothers and Martin Luther King and Apple and John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan were inspirations, because they led with why. And then the how circle around the why, some people and companies know how they do what they do. Whether you call them a differentiating value proposition or a unique selling proposition, the hows are often given to explain how something is different or better. The hows are specific actions taken to realize your why. And then there's the outer circle of what. Every single company on the planet knows what they do. I mean, this is true no matter how big or small the company is, no matter what industry they're in. Everyone can easily describe the products and services their company sells or the job function that they have within the company. The what is the result of why. It's the proof of why. So when we start with why, we go from the inside out of the circle. Why is the reason to buy, and the whats merely represent the tangible products as proof of that belief. Whats are the reason we can point to rationalize why we so much like a company over another. And Simon cites the example of Apple. In his opinion, Apple's technically no different from its competitors, but Apple communicates from the why. Apple's why is to challenge the status quo and empower individuals. And they're challenging the status quo as a pattern repeating in all that they say and do, which is the reason why people perceive Apple as authentic. Really, pick up that book, get it in Audible, which you can, start with why. It really will help you in terms of communicating. If you have a home business, communicating your why, your purpose, why you get up in the morning should be in every piece of you when you're explaining or showing others what you have to offer. And you'll be surprised the results you will get versus, again, manipulating, like putting out promos and specials and things like that on a consistent basis. You don't really need to. The biggest inspiration for somebody to use your product or service, which ultimately will profit you, is your ability to communicate the reason why that you're doing what you're doing. I hope you guys make it a wonderful day. Go and grow, and don't let anyone steal your dreams. Bye for now.